Leveling up. Extreme business growth through raising your game. When what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary, you know you've leveled up.
The world is full of fights worth having, full of battles worthy of your attention, worthy of your time. Today I want to talk to you about why you want to stop fighting the battles that you cannot win, stop trying to change the things that you can't affect, and put your time, your energy, your resources, your focus, your attention onto those things that you can affect, that you can change. Welcome to the Leveling Up Podcast with me, George Swift from Bigger, Brighter, Bolder. The Leveling Up Podcast is here to give you the personal development, the entrepreneurial development, and the business growth that you, the ambitious business owner, desires. I'm here to give you the inspiration and motivation, but above all else, as always, to challenge your aspirations to take you and your business to the next level. Don't forget, subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. You only have so much time, you only have so much energy, and therefore we need to make sure that you are focused on the right things. There's lots of things that aren't working in your business, I'm sure, if you're honest with yourself. There might be loads of things in your life that aren't working if you're being completely honest with yourself. And let's be honest, if you look to the world around us, there are plenty of things out there that aren't working right now. However, some of these things you can affect change in, some of them you can't. Some of them you can have more impact than others. And some of them are just distractions from the main event. You want to make sure that you're putting your attention, your energy, your fight into those battles that are really going to deliver you the results that you want to have in life. This doesn't mean it has to be just within your business or your personal life. This doesn't mean that you can't take up causes. This doesn't mean you can't fight the wrongs that you see in the world. It's just making sure that you're not butting your head up against a brick wall. Just making sure that the energy and the attention that you're giving something can actually transmute into some kind of change. There are many things out there that aren't right in the world. There's many things at home that aren't right, but we can't possibly take them all on as causes, and we're not going to be able to create the change in all of them that we would want to see. So therefore, one of the hardest things in life is to choose the battles you're not going to fight. It's less about the ones you are going to fight. It's less about the causes that you are going to champion. And it's much more about the ones you're going to have to let go, the ones that you just aren't going to be able to take on. It's a bit like goal setting in that sense. You know, goal setting is much more about what you're not going to focus on than what you are actually going to focus on. Good goal setting is about eliminating the distractions, if you like, of all the worthy goals you could set so that you can really focus on the handful that are the really important ones for you and the ones that are going to give you the results and the life that you want to lead. And it's the same with causes. It's the same with wrongs in the world. It's the same with anything that's broken in your business or even broken in your personal life. You can't possibly change it all. And even if you could change it all, you can't change it all now at the same time. And truth be known, there's certain things that you just can't have an impact on. And if we sit in that space where we're wronged by these things and we can see they're wrong, but there's nothing we can actually do ourselves to change that wrong, we just sit in frustration. We feel powerless. We feel disempowered. And it takes us away from fighting those causes and fighting those battles where we really could have a significant impact. So if you're looking at your business, for example, now, and let's say that you're just not making the money, you're not having the turnover that you want to see in your business. And if you're looking externally to the world around you and you're looking at the state of the economy and you're looking at the state of the economy that we've been plunged into by our leaders in this country, and let's be honest, most countries aren't faring a lot better than us in Great Britain, although I think we're doing particularly bad right now economically. There's no point, fighting the recession that we're in, fighting the depression that we're in. We're in a 300-year low right now. Fortunately, for most of us, we're not really aware of that at the moment because the economy's been artificially propped up, which means that we're being supported to a degree that we're not really experiencing the depression that we're in this country, as I say, which is a 300-year low. Get your head around that one. We're talking about going back to the early 1700s, even going back to the late 1600s. This is the worst economic times we've had since then. Since then, America's been founded. Since then, Australia's been founded. It's incredible to imagine what life looked like back in the late 1600s, early 1700s, and then to imagine that we are currently right now in the worst economic times in the whole of that timescale. Almost impossible to imagine because we're getting delivered to our door. We're watching Netflix. We're spending online in Amazon like never before. However, we are in a massive depression, and therefore, if you're not being affected by that right now, awesome. I will do plenty of episodes around the economy as it becomes more and more prevalent. Right now, it's less about that and more about the fact that you might be starting to feel the effects of the economy because your client, for example, your client base may be feeling the pinch right now. And therefore, you could sit there and just beat your head against the wall that the economy's gone to shit. You could beat your head against the wall or put your hand through the TV screen when you see our leaders talking and the action that our leaders are taking that are creating this problem for you. But fundamentally, you're not going to change anything through that action. And let's be honest, in order to create, I don't know, a massive regime change in government or to somehow have some massive impact to policy, you're probably not going to be able to have any real impact on that. Don't get me wrong, some people out there are fighting this cause. And I'm not saying you shouldn't fight this cause. I'm just saying sitting at home, punching up your TV or just screaming at the television or just sitting with your head in your hands, just thinking, you know, the economy this, the economy that, it's tough out there, my clients are screwed, I'm screwed, everyone's screwed, and getting angry with that and fighting that, as in giving it your attention and your energy and your frustration, isn't going to change it. And therefore, you're much better putting that energy and that focus and that attention into those things that you can. It could be something completely different, or it might actually be something that's relevant to what's causing you your real pain. In this case, you might not be able to change anything about the economy, about our leadership of this country, but you might be able to, and I would say you definitely can, affect the revenue in your business by looking at your sales tactics, your sales strategies, your sales effort, all that energy screaming at the TV, all that energy just looking at a bank statement that's going down, looking at all the clients that you don't have. All that energy could actually go into creating more leads, creating more clients, more business, more revenue for your business. Let's say, for example, that Facebook changes algorithms and you were getting a steady flow of leads from Facebook. Facebook changes algorithms. Suddenly those leads start to dry up. Now you've got a choice. You can sit there and scream at Zuckerberg, get it off your chest by all means, spend a bit of time doing that. You can punch your computer screen. Well, I wouldn't advise that. But fundamentally, that's not going to change the problem. Getting angry at something, resenting something, being frustrated with something, that's a misuse of your energy. Spending hours and hours, on forums, bitching and moaning about Facebook or Facebook ads or bitching and moaning about Zuckerberg or anything else, that's not really going to create any change at all. You might feel better because you're venting it, and I'm for venting, by the way. Go scream at the clouds, go and punch a punch bag, go and run around, do something, scream, shout, pull your hair out, get it off your chest, but then you have to go back and be productive, and you need to go and start to put your energy into the things that you can control, the things you can influence, and the things that you can actually win at. In this case, you may say, right, Facebook is dead for me, I need to move on to something else. Or you might sit there and say, right, how do I make Facebook as it is now work for me? The problem we've got at the moment is there is a lot of frustration out there. The problem we've got is there's a lot of fear and tension and uncertainty and doubt out there. And therefore, it's hard for us to keep our head and keep our sanity and our clarity when the whole world around us seems to be losing theirs. It's very hard to sit back and just be calm and say, now, we've lost all of our lead generation from this particular platform. Where are our clients now hanging out? Where do we find these new leads? Or how do we we don't really think like that, do we? All we're thinking is, oh my God, the ship is sinking, the boat is sinking, hang on to the cliff face, scream and shout, get angry, get frustrated, misdirect all of our anger. Well, it's not misdirected. You can scream and shout at Boris, scream and shout at the BBC, scream and shout at anything else in the world. You can, and it might be well deserved, but bottom line is it's not going to change anything. So get it off your chest. But if you keep doing it, you're not changing anything. You got to put the energy. Of course we go frantic. Of course we go crazy. Of course we lose our mind because we're losing our businesses. We're losing our lifestyle. We might not be in that moment, but that's the perception if we start to go into that fear place. So it's really hard to keep our calm. I've done many episodes on this over the last 256 episodes, but is important that we maintain our emotional stability, that we maintain our perspective, that we keep a clear head, a level head, that we can lose our minds, we can scream and shout and swear, and I'm all for that. I'm well up for a bit of that. But we've got to get out of that space at some point, and the sooner the better, so that we can get back into the creative problem solving, which is right. This is happening. This is happening. This is the world we live in. This is what we need to do. I know so many small businesses that are still, like nearly a year on, they're still waiting for the country to open up, for the restrictions to be lifted, for Boris to say we're going back to normal. I know so many businesses that, bless them, are just hanging in there, just hoping and praying that the world goes back to what it was so they can go back and do what they were doing the way they were doing it. And my message across the whole of my success groups and all my masterminds, and my message to you guys, if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, is we must take control and responsibility for ourselves, our own lives, and our own businesses. We must make our business viable. We don't want to be at the mercy and at the whims of our government that, let's be honest, at best you could say they're doing lots of U-turns, and at best you could say that the situation is changing so fast that the course of action they're taking is changing equally fast. Or perhaps like me, you might be sitting there thinking, you're just a lying bunch of fuckers, and it's not U-turning because yesterday you're saying there's no way we're going to do this, and then today you're saying this is what we're going to do, and you really expect me to believe that with the greatest thinking in the world, and even if I'm being, oh my God, thinking that you really are as stupid as you seem and the powers that be are really as useless as they appear to be, even if I believe that to be true, do I really believe that yesterday this wasn't true, but today it is true, and therefore you've had to unfortunately change the time? So if we're waiting for our leaders to give us permission to do something, if we're waiting for our leaders to take control of this situation, if we're waiting for the world to go back to normal, if we're waiting for shops to open up the way they used to be, and for bars to open up the way they used to be, and for our business to be able to do business the way it used to, we're just at the mercy. And in that time, what are you doing? Screaming at your TV set. You're screaming at the leaders. If you're not screaming at the leaders, maybe you're screaming at just the situation. If you're not screaming at the situation, maybe you're screaming at COVID itself and the coronavirus and damn this whole bloody thing. None of that's going to change anything. None of it. What is the situation? What are you dealing with? What are you working with? How do you create what you want from that raw material? The world that we lived in just a year ago no longer exists right now. And whilst there's this promise, this ongoing promise that we are going to go back to some degree of that in the UK, we had some good news, but let's be honest, right? It wasn't exactly ecstatic news. We've got a long time still to go. There's a long road still to go, a hell of a lot of caveats in what Boris was saying the other day. So are we going to just, ease out of this lockdown the way we are and never look back and stuff? Well, it's unlikely. And let's be honest, it's unlikely given the fact that what he was saying is all these caveats that could unfortunately unsettle that and derail that. So rather than just waiting for June, July and going back to normal, you say, right, fuck it. What can I do? What can I work with? I had a perfectly functioning business, a perfectly functioning life. It's no longer working the way it was. I'm left with this raw material. Some of it is still relevant. Some of it now is obsolete. What can I do with what is left in order to take control and responsibility of my business, of my life? Where can I put my attention, my energy, my fight? What is it that I can actually affect and change in order to bring about the results that I need in my life, my family needs in life, my clients need, the world around me needs? What is it that I can take responsibility for? There's loads of worthy causes in this world. There's loads of wrongs in this world. There's so many things we could be angry at. There's so many things that we deserve to be angry at. And at certain times, go for it. Be angry. Have a rant. Get on a Zoom call or on a Facebook Live or whatever and just get it out your system if that's what you want to do. But don't live in that place because it's burnt energy. It doesn't go anywhere. It's standing in the garden, screaming at the gods and looking up at the sun or the clouds or the rain and just shouting and scream. It doesn't change anything. It gets it out of our system. And if you need to shout and scream a little bit, if you need to punch up something a little bit in order to get it out of your system, that's fine. You just don't want to live in that place because you're just fighting something that you can't possibly ever win. You can never be a victor over it. It's like standing in the garden and it's raining. We can all have a little bit of a whinge and a moan because it's raining. We can all look up at the clouds and the gods and think, why me? Why do I live in this God-forsaken country? Why do we have to put up with this weather? You can have a couple of minutes of that if you want. It doesn't change anything. You're still getting wet. The solution is, right, okay, how do we salvage what we've got here? How do I stay dry? How do I do what I was going to do, but have to do it in the rain? How do I get over myself? Can I just get wet and whatever? My expectations were we're going to go out and have this amazing picnic. I mean, you know this if you live in this country. My expectations are going to go out and have a great picnic in the sun and we're going to have this great thing and blah, blah, blah. And then the clouds come over and it pisses all over you and you're like, oh, it's all over, it's all dead. And well, yeah, I mean, you could just say, forget it, it's rained off, we'll come back and fight another day. Or you just make the best of what you've got. The analogy is not about whether or not you should go out and get wet at a picnic, or whether you should take umbrellas, or whether you should do a rain check and postpone it for another time. It's more about the fact of just standing in the garden, screaming at the rain, getting wet. You're not changing anything. What you can change is you can change your plans, you can change your attitude, your perspective on the rain, you can change how you approach what it was you were going to do that day. You can bring an umbrella, you can problem solve, you can be strategical and tactical, you can make the best of what's there. You could just sit and wait for the rain to pass. But if I said to you, there's a lot of rain coming, it's going to continue to rain for a long time, and it may or may not stop raining at some time in the months to come, you'd be a bit foolish to sit around just waiting for the rain to stop before you went out and started living your life again. And that's kind of what I see too many business owners doing. You know, they're waiting for the rain to stop, but there's no real forecast that clearly says that's going to happen. In which case you say, right, we're now living in a world that is wet. We live in a world where it rains. How do I adapt to that world? Fighting the fights and the battles that you can win. Affecting the change that you can have influence over. Scream and shout, but get it out of your system and then move away and put your energy into something far better than to stand there continually just fighting the battles you can have no impact on. Screaming at policy, screaming at the politicians, screaming at the skies, banging your head against a brick wall, wishing it wasn't the case, wishing it wasn't true, hoping it would be better, hoping we can go back to how it was. None of that is going to change your situation. You want to be a leader. You want to lead your life and you want to lead your business. Just standing there shouting, screaming, moaning, whinging, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's to your family, whether it's just to yourself, just sitting there in total and utter paralyzed frustration at what's going on, or just sitting there passively waiting for the world to change around you. None of that is leading your life or leading your business. It could get tough out there. Not because of the coronavirus, not because of the lockdowns. It could get tough out there because the next narrative is coming and it is this economic crash that we're currently in, but we're not truly feeling yet. And when that does, that tidal wave, that tsunami of a economic depression really gets felt, it's possible that we're going to be in for yet more bumpy, turbulent times. And if we're sitting there again, waiting for a depression to pass, waiting for the economy to pick up, we're waiting for our customers to be ready to spend again. If we're sitting there still being passive for another 6 months, another 12 months, at what point do you just get washed away? At what point are you there just another victim of this? So for me, if you haven't yet really gone out and fight the battles that are worth winning, if you haven't gone out there and really tackled the situation, the environment that you're working in, the economic climate that you're operating in, if you haven't gone out there and affected the change within that you can affect, which predominantly comes back to what you can do yourself and what your business does and how you do business and what you're willing to accept and not willing to accept, it's really about the personal responsibility to change yourself and to change your business, adapt it to what is happening in the external world that you cannot affect. That's how you're going to get through these storms. Build yourself a life raft. Build yourself a ship. Build yourself a surfboard. That's how you're going to get over this tsunami of an economic depression if it really does hit the way that some are predicting it will hit. Standing there in your back garden just wishing it wasn't happening or waiting for it to go away or hoping it doesn't happen, that's not going to solve the problem that you might be facing. That's just one example. Right now, it could be the fact that you're just not getting enough business in. It could just be the ponds you were once fishing in that were delivering you a steady supply of clients have dried up. And you're still there on the side of the bank with your rod in the water, just hoping that it's not true, hoping that the fish will come back. And you're there, and at some point you've got to realize that actually I need to do something different. I need to go and adapt and change my environment. I need to change maybe where I'm fishing. I need to change my bait. I need to change my attitude, my ethic, my plan, my strategy. Or I could just scream at the fish that aren't there. I could scream at the pond for being dried up. I could scream at the world for taking my fish away. None of that's going to create any change at all. So this episode is really getting you to step up into the fight, step up into the battle. Take any energy that you're misappropriating and misdirecting, even though it might be directed at the right things and the right people, it's not creating any change. Therefore, it's misdirected because it can do so much good when you direct it at the things that you can influence, that you can change. And then when you start to prioritize those things and the things that are going to give you the biggest returns, they're going to maximize the returns for your effort and your energy. That's where you want to put your fight. That's where you want to battle. That's where fundamentally you want to create change. Stop fighting what you can't change and fight for what you can. Nice one, guys. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have an awesome week ahead. As always, I'm here to give you the content, the kick up the arse, the motivation, the drive, the uplifting, and sometimes a bit of a reality check to keep you on the right path, to help to motivate you, to help to inspire you to take the action you need to go out there and fight for what you need to, so that you can be one of those businesses that do not become a victim of what's gone on so far, and that you do not become a victim of what may be coming down the line. I want you to be an empowered human being, an empowered entrepreneur and business owner, and go out and create the business that you need and that you want, so that you can go out and create the life that you want, and then you can go out and have the impact in the world around you that you desire to have. If you want to know a little bit more about what we're doing at Bigger, Brighter, Bolder and our success groups, please go to biggerbrighterbolder.co.uk. Find out what we're doing to help businesses launch, how we're helping businesses build from 30, 40, 50k up to 100k plus, and then how we're helping business owners over 100k to scale their businesses to multiple 100k turnovers and even onto 7 figures and beyond. If you are ready to have a chat with us and you want to know how we can help you and support you on your ongoing journey of entrepreneurism and success, then please do email my partner in life and in business, Tracy Miller. You can contact her at tracy.miller@biggerbrighterbolder.co.uk. I'll put both those links in the description of this episode. I'll also put some links in there to some other resources to help you on your ongoing journey. I will see you next time. Until then, as always, be successful.
Leveling up. Extreme business growth through raising your game. When what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary, you know you've leveled up.